Today, we're looking at a pretty wild paradox. I mean, how exactly does a young kid facing severe physical and financial disadvantages grow up to become a global football icon? Was it literally just pure, undeniable talent? Or was there an actual, deliberate blueprint behind his rise? Okay, let's dive right into this. To really understand the legend, we gotta rewind to Rosario, Argentina. Little Lionel, mostly just called Leo, had this intense, undeniable passion for football from the moment he could walk. But at just 10 years old, his family got some pretty devastating news. He was diagnosed with a growth hormone deficiency. Basically, his body wasn't making the natural substance he needed to grow properly. The only treatment? Hundreds of dollars a month for special injections. And for a humble family in Argentina, that was a massive, almost impossible financial obstacle. Even the local clubs couldn't foot the bill, so his dream was essentially on life support. Which brings us to Chapter 1, the boy on the napkin, and the massive leap of faith across the ocean that started it all. So tracking his early youth progression, he starts out at a local club Grandoli in 1992, and pretty soon moves to Newell's Old Boys, absolutely dominating as part of their famous Machine of 87 youth team. His dribbling skills were already out of this world, completely outmatching guys way older than him. But by the year 2000, those medical costs we just talked about, they threatened everything. Newell's couldn't afford the treatment anymore. This forced a 12-year-old boy and his family to travel thousands of miles to Spain, just hoping for a trial with FC Barcelona. And his sheer talent there led to one of the most famous pieces of memorabilia in sports history. The trial completely amazed everyone, but Barcelona's directors were still kind of hesitant to sign a foreign kid with a medical condition. But the technical director, Carlos Rexach, saw something so incredibly special, he just refused to let him go. So on December 14, 2000, sitting at a restaurant, Rexach literally drafted a makeshift contract on a paper napkin. That napkin secured Messi's spot in Barcelona's youth academy, La Masia, and crucially promised to pay for his medical treatment. Just think about the maturity required here too. A young boy living far away from home, giving himself hormone injections every single night. That is next level dedication. But natural talent only gets you so far, right? Let's look at the next phase, the Barcelona methodology, the secret sauce that turned this boy into an absolute machine. Now, what's really interesting about this is how Barcelona approaches development. Looking at this breakdown from Jean Villa, their director of methodology, we can see they don't just run basic drills. They have a totally comprehensive formative process. It starts with specific training concepts, answering the where, how, when, and what. All of this filters down to create their specific playing model and game philosophy, ultimately building the FC Barcelona identity. They are quite literally forging a footballing brain. And they don't just train legs. Barcelona views the player as a complex system of interacting structures. You have the physical and technical stuff, sure. But look at the others. The social affective, the mental, and the emo-volitional structure, which basically represents a player's emotions and pure willpower. They realized early on that to build the ultimate player, you've got to develop the mind and emotional resilience just as much as the footwork. This leads to a truly fascinating philosophical distinction in the Barca system. Joinvilla highlights the difference between improving and optimizing. Improving simply means doing one isolated thing better every time, like kicking a ball harder. It's got a limited scope, but optimizing means improving the interconnections between all those complex structures we just talked about. When your mental, physical, and technical structures are seamlessly linked, there are literally no limitations. It's a brilliant mindset, and it's exactly how they built a holistic, limitless player in Lionel Messi. So how does this actually play out on the field? Well, here are the core tenets. They use rondos, those quick positional keep-away games, to master space and time. They demand constant mobility and high technical quality. But the absolute most crucial tenet, learning how to look. Villa notes that players must perceive before, during, and after an action. If you've ever watched Messi play, he famously spends the first few minutes of a match just walking around. He's scanning the field, analyzing the opponent's structures. He is out there literally executing Barcelona's primary directive. Learn how to look, perceive, and only then execute. That optimized brain generated immense success, leading us to our next chapter, Club Glory, National Heartbreak. The great contrast of his career. 91. I just want you to pause and let that number sink in for a second. In the 2012 calendar year, Lionel Messi scored an astonishing 91 goals. It's a record-breaking figure that just absolutely defies logic. And wild enough, that 2012 record was just one peak in a sustained era of dominance. He went on to win the Ballon d'Or, the award for the best player in the world, a record 8 times. Under Pep Guardiola, alongside academy teammates like Xavi and Iniesta, Messi was the engine of arguably the greatest club team ever assembled. So the crucial point is the insane contrast here. At Barcelona, he enjoyed unparalleled glory. We're talking 4 Champions Leagues, 10 La Liga titles, multiple trebles. He was invincible. But back home in Argentina, the experience was vastly different. He carried the impossibly heavy expectations of a nation, constantly being compared to the legend of Diego Maradona. He reached the 2014 World Cup final and lost. He reached 3 Copa America finals and lost them all. The pressure was so crushing that he actually briefly retired from international football in 2016. But hey, a true hero's journey requires a turnaround. That brings us to breaking the Argentina curse and his ultimate redemption arc. After he returned to the national team, the breakthrough finally happened in 2021. Just listen to the raw emotional weight in this quote after winning the Copa America. He said, "I needed to get the thorn out of being able to achieve something with the national team. I feel that God was saving this moment from me." Beating Brazil in Brazil ended a 28-year wait for Argentina. You can just imagine the massive, suffocating burden lifting off his shoulders. And it's like that single victory unlocked everything. The 2021 Copa America win paved the way for a masterful Golden Ball winning performance at the 2022 World Cup. That whole run ultimately culminated in that thrilling penalty shootout victory over France. Lifting that World Cup trophy, it was the one piece of silverware that had eluded him. It firmly cemented his undisputed status as the greatest of all time and finally fulfilled the hopes of his nation. Having conquered Europe and the world, Messi entered a completely new era. Let's look at his twilight dominance in Miami to see just how durable that optimized brain really is. And this brilliantly illustrates exactly what we're talking about. Check out this data comparing his first 100 games across his 3 main teams. At Barcelona, as a youngster, he had 41 goals and 14 assists. For Argentina, 46 goals and 27 assists. But at Inter Miami in the MLS, his output wildly eclipses his early career numbers. A staggering 86 goals and 45 assists in his first 100 games, securing 3 trophies right out of the gate. I mean, let the visual impact of that 86 goal bar really sink in. Yes, of course, the competition level in the MLS is different than the Champions League, we know that. But guys, we're talking about a player performing at age 38. He's still winning Golden Boots, he's still breaking records. His output hasn't just endured, in some statistical categories, it has literally accelerated. But to boil Messi down to just goals? Well, that's kind of misunderstanding him completely. His Argentina manager, Lionel Scaloni, hit the nail on the head during their Copa run, saying he makes things easier on a daily basis. Despite those immense stats, Messi's true value lies in his vision, his passing, and his innate ability to optimize the players around him. He's the ultimate facilitator. So, we're left with this massive question. Seeing him continue to dominate well into his late 30s really forces us to ask, does the Barcelona method of optimizing a player, connecting all those physical, mental, and cognitive structures, create a footballing brain that simply outlives physical aging? Or is Lionel Messi just a once-in-a-millennium anomaly, whose sheer talent transcends any system? Honestly, it's probably a bit of both. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep asking questions, keep analyzing the greats, and I'll see you on the next one.